Hey everyone, welcome back to Psychonauts. Today we're doing Waterloo World. Just Waterloo World.
Stop.
Cheer up, Fred. You won the war.
I know, but now I'm bored.
Mind if I hang out?
Sure, just don't expect me to be very entertaining.
Cheer up, Fred. You won the war.
So yeah, not a lot of interest here. But there are a ton of figments. And I got just over half of them the first time I was here. And I don't think there are any at the first two scales. Although there are a lot of cows that weren't here before.
Can you believe a great battle was once fought here? On these very fields upon which you now so peacefully graze.
We can't really let it be peaceful, but there's not a lot of interest that I can do to these cows. I can move them with telekinesis like the board pieces.
Yep.
And I suppose I could probably use them as platforms to get to some of the trickier figments if I thought about it. But you don't need to do that, so I'm not going to. Now there's a cork around here that's got some figments near it. And then of course there are a bunch near the house too. Now, there are actually a couple of reasons I didn't get many figments the first time here. Obviously I didn't want to rank up past 95 until I'd gotten all of the ammo pickups. But also, most of the figments in this level are off the beaten path. You know, even more so than they are in any of the other levels. Most of them, as I think people in the thread have pointed out, are more linear paths. And even something like the Milkman Conspiracy has got... Yeah, there's plenty of figments inside the houses, but there's also disguise items and luggage tags. Actual luggage. This level, there are a bunch of figments in places you normally wouldn't go. And of course, the snail cannon sees me as a leaf. That's what snails eat, after all. And snails are, in turn, eaten by hardy knights. So we can deal with this guy easily enough. And then I can deal with the sensors inside the orchard without actually having to get close to them. Pyrokinesis is pretty amazing. There we go, he wanted to get his buddy in on the act. Now, inside the orchard there are a whole bunch of figments that are, well, easy to find, but pretty time-consuming. You just have to hit these canvas sheets that are strung up between the trees and make the apples fall out of them. Some of them you can jump up to with levitation, but not all of them quite. And I think there's a tree in the middle that's got some birds up on top of it. Why are you not dead yet? So, probably about half the figments that I didn't collect before are in here. Well, alright, not half, but... I don't know, a third, a fourth. There are a lot of apple figments in here, 5 of them for each tree. And the birds on this tree in the center. Yeah, there we go, I did miss one at this tree. I think 3 full combos on any one of these things should get all of the apples down, and I'm pretty sure there are exactly 5 at each pair of trees. I think I got a couple of them the first time I went through here, so there's not necessarily going to be 5 at each tree. But gotta be very careful, because if I miss one, I'm gonna have to search the whole level and come back here. you really want to make sure you clear everything the first time. Because this is a big open level, it's all one area, and your figment counter is just going to tell you how many figments you've got in the entire mind. Anyway, nearly done. This should be the last set of them. Alright, and now we gotta move on and check the rest of the level. There are a couple other places where there are groups of figments. A lot of them are lines of figments from the chops of the chimney smokestacks. So you have to levitate and float to them. Those are difficult to get even when you know where they are. This level is the third of the notorious places for trying to get all the figments and failing. There's the levitation race in Mia's dance party, there's the milkman conspiracy, and there's this. And I think there are a couple of other places that do have very large collections of figments that are hard to get to, but those are the three where if you ever give up on getting all the figments and getting 100%, those are probably the places where it happened. So you got everything at the bottom of the guillotine. I'm gonna need to go up to the top, of course, because I'm pretty sure I skipped some stuff up at the Carpenter's rooftop. And more snails. This is the house where I think you get the most figments. You can see two lines of them stretching off into the distance. And I'm just really, really bad at the timing required to get to these. Generally you do just bounce wherever and then float over to them, but if your timing's not just right, you're not going to get the distance you need. If you can glitch it into bouncing really high, then you might be able to make it. And I finally got, I believe, all of the first collection of figments. Oh, there's one more. And then the second collection. That's probably the harder one. Because this corner is really hard to stand on and bounce correctly, and then I made the tactical mistake of going for the ones that are near the bottom, which I could have just levitate jumped to from this platform. The other one I think I am actually going to have to get to from the trampoline. It's not going to be easy. And this is more or less the rest of the video. Not just this one part. It is going to take me forever. At least there's a faster way to get up that I'm eventually going to notice. You can stand on this rooftop and then jump up through the trampoline. So it doesn't take me quite as long to swing around for another try. The other problem is if you do manage to stand perfectly on the corner of the trampoline, you can't really levitate jump from it. So eventually I just gave up, went to the far side of the water. There are a couple of chicken figments over here. And a snail cannon somewhere, which seems to have disappeared. Then I thought maybe if I jump from the top of the cork, I might be able to make it. And no, but a lucky bounce off the fence post does it. So with all those figments finally gathered, it's time to head to the Carpenter's rooftop and get all the stuff that I missed up there. The mandatory use of invisibility, of course, which does help with the sensor at the far end of the tightrope. I don't think I can usually complain about a forced use of powers that's actually beneficial. And once again, I don't need to go in there and mess with those sensors, as long as my fire can reach them through the door. And one of them survived. I don't think he was even touched. Anyway, we're just at the far end now. And that was a really bad jump. Okay, here I just purposefully skipped all the figments. Really, I think it's just one line of figments stretching off into the distance from here. And I didn't get a very good jump. Take 3. Yeah, there's one you can jump to, or I guess 2 you can jump to, and then still land right back on the platform. And then you want to ramp off it and make a really long levitation jump for the rest of them. This time I actually do go back for the one that I skipped, which is generally the hardest one to get. And now we just kind of move across the relatively trackless wasteland. I left a lot of figments around most of the corks, so they're pretty good landmarks. Yeah, I missed a squirrel back here. I think I only came back here because I wanted to take a look inside the room, just to make sure that yes, Fred is still alone. They did at least pay attention to some of the more obvious details. Now back at the Hardy Knight's house. And a couple of figments right out here on his lawn. I think I'll go to those other ones from the other side. I can see a line of figments stretching away from the rooftop. So we'll make our way around the house just to make sure I didn't miss any figments along here. Yeah, I see one out there on the end of the trapeze. Don't really know how I missed that one, unless I missed that on purpose too. It's a problem of missing things on purpose. I can't always tell whether I did it or not. Those figments are just going to be very difficult to get, I think. I know it's possible, I've done it before. And if I'm collecting the figments over here, I probably ought to take care of this guy. I know people have pointed out that telekinesis is a faster way to take care of them, but only if there's some convenient water nearby to throw them into. Otherwise, I think pyrokinesis is going to be the way to go. And yeah, I left a few figments on the staircase. And then the rooftop is another place that I can jump from and try to get those other figments, if I can get some decent forward momentum. And if I can manage some depth perception. I mean, I guess I could wax philosophical for a bit about the illusion of depth. You know, the whole... this is actually a 2D image and we're projecting it as if it's 3D. But I don't want to do that. Then again, I don't think I have a whole lot else to talk about. You know, there's the physics of rolling a ball on a slanted surface. And I think that's the only figment I'll be able to get from that position. So I really gotta come at it from this side to get the other figments. And I'm going to fall short many, many times. So, I'll just hop onto the top of the bush and try to levitate from there. Maybe I might even be able to just jump up. There we go. So it's just that one really annoying figment at the top of the chain that's going to give me problems. And I went for it a whole bunch of times, as I always do. I think even sped up, this is just not an interesting thing to watch over and over again. So, the moment of clarity. When you've got the ability to hover, you just have to get to the highest point you can. Even if it's a little farther away, the extra distance makes all the difference. And I didn't even look around this house. This is where the guy lived who wanted the musket.
And I did try. You can't knock on any of the doors of any of these houses after the soldier or whoever is inside has come out.
Nothing over by that cork. But I remember there being figments at the top of one of the bridges, and there were none at the other bridge. So if I can ever manage to get to the top of this one, there's some figments. I think usually the first time in the level I come here, if I'm actually trying to collect all the figments the first time, the bridge is down, which makes it a lot harder to get them. Once the bridge is rebuilt, obviously, you can just climb up and levitate to everything. Or slide down the rail, whichever. But we're pretty nearly done here. There are a couple of figments within easy reach. Alright, relatively easy reach. And I think, yeah, that's the platform I was on before. Well, nobody ever said I was trying to plot this efficiently. I'm just trying to find all the figments as I go. So one other major hub of activity in this part of the level is the big building at the end of the drawbridge. I think I got everything inside the barn, but out front of this building I left a figment or two. And of course all the sensors that were in the building are back. I didn't miss anything inside, and you don't have to climb up the inside. I know there's a way to jump up to that tightrope directly, but I couldn't find it. I just gave up eventually. Climbing through the building isn't that annoying, it's just the whole shuffling along the ledge. Is that ever fun? I mean, is there ever a game where going hand-to-hand along the ledge sideways is fun? I guess maybe Prince of Persia managed to do it pretty well. A lot of it is just the speed at which you typically move in that sort of situation. Again, barely making the jump, missing the rail that I usually grab midway. This is how you're supposed to get across. And I'm pretty sure there's another figment down there near the sensors. That was kind of an embarrassing landing. And nothing else up here. May as well go down through the barn just to make sure I didn't miss anything along the way. Well, alright, I'm pretty sure I didn't miss anything in there. It's not a figment in the back, that's just a plant. Alright, moving on. There's the castle itself, of course, and a bunch of figments that I skipped along the drawbridge. I think usually you're supposed to use the tight ropes at the sides to get across, and while you're floating from one to the other, you grab all those figments along the way. Alright, we'll just start again. I could take the shortcut across the water, but I'm gonna get shot at a whole bunch. That would just be annoying. So come this way, grab the figments. And of course you can take out the snail cannons from here pretty easily now you've got the bridge activated. Just systematically take down the enemies one by one. Don't know where this guy came from. I guess he jumped over from the far side. Guess the drawbridge helps the enemies as much as it helps me. There was another figment attached to this tightrope. See if I can make my way up there. Now that's just really annoying. Might as well while I'm here, right? And finally there's the stretch of tight ropes that I originally used to get to the far side of the castle. Don't think there were any figments on the ground here to begin with. Can't really remember. But I'm pretty sure I left at least something up there on the tight ropes. And once I'm done with that, I think I've covered the entire level. So anything that I'm still missing is just something I didn't see twice. And for some reason I thought I saw a figment there, but it's just the sensor's no hitting the wall there. The problem with figments just being kind of vague, indefinable blurs of color. And also camera troubles, because no 3D game has ever been complete without them. So we get those figments.
Watch it.
And the snail cannon manages to hit me through the wall again. But that's okay, because there's no figments left up there, I don't think. So, there are 5 figments left, I think. And I realized that I didn't even go up to the roof of this house, where there are a couple of very easy figments to get. And I finally have infinite ammo, which covers both marksmanship, the Psy Blast, and the confusion grenades. And I think I tried to get to this one from the fence for a while, because that usually seems to be a good strategy, but you can't stand up there. So eventually I just gave up and went back to the rooftop for another pass at it. It's kind of neat that you can get to the smoke even if you're pretty far away from it. And then I spent a long time going to all the highest points in the level so I could look down and try to find the missing figments. One of them was, indeed, right here. I didn't bother to take out this guy before, but there's a figment that's very easily accessible as you're levitating from one to the other. And then there was a long and fruitless search for the final figment. Actually, this isn't the final figment. I think there's one more after I get this one. But yeah, it's way up above me and I missed it. I also kind of like the chandelier. Never really bothered to look up from here before. But no more figments around this rooftop. I think now I'm down to the last one, and this was the time when I bothered to look at the figment list. It's not usually all that useful, but as you can see, sometimes similar shaped figments are grouped together. And occasionally that's helpful, like when the missing figment is right in the middle of a whole page of apple-shaped figments. Well, I know that most of the apple-shaped figments were over in the orchard area, so I figure that's a good first place to check, see if I missed something. And if I didn't, then I haven't really lost anything. And indeed, the missing figment is right over here. I just sort of walked right past it earlier. So that was me spending way too long getting all the figments in this level. And all that's left are the figments and meat circus, and then the baggage and the cobwebs
Man,
there.
These things smell terrible. Am I sure I want to do this? I'm ready.
I'll see you guys for Meat Circus next time.